everyone, and happy Monday. I hope you are all doing well. This is another episode of SideKick Power Hour, and I'm your host, Joshua R. Pangborn. Thank you for joining us tonight on this lovely Monday evening or morning, depending on where you are in the world. Or it even could be Tuesday already, depending on where you're watching from. We always love our viewers from abroad and from the United States as well. I hope those of you who are in the United States, especially on the East Coast and the South and the Midwest, are defrosting a little bit because we've had a big storm this weekend. I know that many people in New York City have the luxury of getting to study remotely if you were a student or work remotely if you were working, although some people still had to go out, and I hope that everyone who did was able to stay safe and sound. It's good to see some of you already tuning in tonight. Yes, hello. I am doing well as well, and I did hang in there with the storm. It was a lot of basically just staying in my apartment because that was probably the smartest thing to do. I am really grateful though for our mayor because Zoran Mamdani was really prepared, and he had some wonderful videos for people to have information as well. It's really great to have someone like him in charge, I think, because I felt really like the city seemed to run the smoothest I've seen it run in a snowstorm in a very long time. So that was very lovely to see, I think. For those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome to SideKick Power Hour. This is part of the SideKick Productions world. SideKick Productions is a queer, fat positive, sex positive production company that I started in 2011. And I always forget 2011, 2012, but it's 2011. And we make movies and TV shows and web series and short films, all with that idea in mind. And SideKick Power Hour is a way to celebrate the people who make these with me, or the people that I meet in the world who are allies or also doing work in as queer performers or fat positive performers or as allies of said groups and all. So I am always excited on Monday nights when I get a chance to bring in people to talk about their lives, because I think I've met some of the most amazing creatives this way, and I'm always excited because I get a chance to work with them sometimes. And sometimes this is somebody I've worked with before that I'm bringing on, and sometimes this is somebody that I hope to work with, and fingers crossed someday will. But tonight's guest is someone that I have worked with before. And we have spent many, well, not that many, but several days on set together on the Chair Company. But they are so much more than the Chair Company, and they're going to tell you all about themselves. And I can't wait to bring them in right now. Please welcome tonight's special guest. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Josh. This is really I've been looking forward to it for a minute.
I've been looking forward to it too. I know I think we planned this 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I want to speed this up, but all the best things are always worth waiting for, I think. So
Absolutely. And the time, when you're busy and the beginning of the year, like it starts off kind of creeping along, and then all of a sudden it's like you're in it,
it
and
is. It's like
running.
January seems like it'll take forever, and then all of a sudden it's January 26th, and it's like,
Exactly.
oh, well, okay, the month is over. So,
Exactly.
um, can you introduce yourselves to everyone, so that way they can find out who you are?
Sure. My name is Zuleyma Guevara, and I'm an actress based in New York, and I've been acting for a long time.
A few
um,
years. That we'll say that.
a couple of years, yeah, yeah. Mostly theater. I do some TV and film. Starting to do that more now, but like my base and my my first love is the theater. So that's where most of my work has been concentrated on.
And have you, because yes, theater, because you said, I believe I found out, I think 3 weeks ago when you and I were having celebrating a party together, that you are an award-winning theater actress, I believe. Yes.
Yes, I received an Obie in 2024 for an acting Obie, which I was really very surprised and very grateful for, and very just humbled, and it was a lovely, it's a nice confirmation that people are watching and that people are appreciating my work, because we don't often get I mean, that's not true. Like when I'm on stage, what I get, we end that show and the audience always gets to show their
Mhm.
appreciation by their applause, and that's always very gratifying. I never take that for granted. But when your peers nominate you and and award you with something like an OB, it feels good. It feels
No,
good.
there's something absolutely special when that moment comes that your peers are recognizing you for your work,
Yeah.
because it means that you've made an impact on them,
Hmm.
and I think that's great. Do you mind telling the audience, in case they don't know, what is an Obi?
It's an off Broadway. So like the Tonys are for like Broadway shows, and an OB is for off Broadway shows in New York. So that's, yeah, I got one for being in a show off Broadway, in New York.
So for everyone who is not completely familiar with theater in New York City, this is a pretty big deal because
It is. Yeah.
Off Broadway is basically Broadway, but in just slightly smaller theaters. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
it. I think an off Broadway house is 99, up to 99 seats, or maybe that's off Broadway, and then 150 is off Broadway, and then
I think so. I think it's 99 to 150 is off Broadway.
right, and then from above 150 is a Broadway house. So it depends on the size of the house, what whether it's a Broadway house or not. But it's also the pipeline to Broadway, and
Hmm.
got people like my mentor Vanette Carroll was one of the first African American women to receive an OB back in 1966, I think it was, or 64. Robert De Niro won one. Al Pacino has one.
Hmm.
Like I could go on. There's like the major actors that started in New York, has started their careers in New York in theater, have at some point, been awarded an OB. So it was. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so I felt like it was a long time coming. But
It's
I'm,
incredibly well deserved.
I'm also,
I
it
you
came.
are
I was grateful for it.
you are by far, from what I have seen of your work, an incredible actress, and so I was thrilled to hear that, because you clearly deserve the recognition of everyone around you.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. That's really sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
so so you started in the theater then, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I fell in love with theater watching musicals. I
I Same. So
who doesn't love a good musical, right?
I
And
know some people, but not me.
I
I love
don't
any
trust
musical,
I don't
really.
trust those people. Like a good musical, like come on, there's got to be, because there's something for everybody, right? Like there's if you consider opera a musical,
Yeah, no,
it runs
yeah.
the gamut, right? So like how could you not love people breaking into song in the middle of their lives?
I think anybody who categorizes a whole genre of art as something they don't like doesn't understand that there's variations within that genre, basically.
Absolutely. And
Uh,
also there, it's an extremely limiting thought, right? Like I
yeah,
don't like musical theater. Like, well, how much of it have you seen? Like they might have gone to like one show that they hated and were like, I gotta get
and
to.
it's so different because for every musical, like anything goes, you get a musical like Hadestown, and they're just wildly different shows.
Exactly.
But they're both wonderful, but one has a certain kind of audience that probably enjoys it, and one has another.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I mean, it's the same as movies. It's like saying, I don't like dramas or I don't
yeah,
like comedies. That's not a thing.
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
There's more to it. But I think it's easy to write off musicals because it has a stereotype of just somebody starts singing a song and that's what it is. But it's like it's so much more. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, and when you think about it, yes, that's exactly what it is. People break into song because when you break into song, it is the only way for that character to fully express. Like they at that moment when songs happen on stage, it is because the character is so full that they can't express themselves any other way.
Mhm.
And if you've seen a good production of whatever, that's what you should be leaving with, of like, oh my God, my emotions were so big that's why people walk out singing and dancing and wanting to get an album, or when albums existed, wanting to download the music. So yeah, that's how I fell in love with theater. And I always thought that that's what I would do, but God didn't bless me with a very great singing voice.
I had the same problem, so don't
That's
worry.
ridiculous. I think that was very stingy of God.
was
um
very I
like,
was very angry. I'm like, come on, I love
yeah.
musicals. Why can't I be in one?
Exactly. I'm like the Salieri for like musicals.
Yes,
Like,
yes, the
gave
two
me
of
the
us. Yeah.
desire, but not the talent. But anyway, just I fell in love with the theater through that, and then of course I started seeing straight plays, and I was like, oh, I like that too. And it was never, honestly, when I was younger, I never, the desire to be in films never happened. I started doing that once I started acting, when you realize obviously that you don't have a choice, right? Like you do what you
Yep.
get. um but like my desire was always to have like this amazing theater career, and to a certain extent, I have, like, I do a lot of regional theater. um I, at this point in my career, people in New York theater know who I am. And that's a big deal, and it's really gratifying. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Have you did you grow up in Manhattan or near
No,
Manhattan?
I grew up in New York. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and I moved here with my parents, my sister, and I moved here when I was 5, and we lived in Brooklyn uh,
Mm.
for many years, and then from there we moved to Queens, and then I went to college here in New York. So I've lived in every borough except Staten Island. Um, uh,
Most people say that. So,
yeah, Staten Island, it's its own little world. But I
but
have,
you have the so you have the luxury of growing up near Broadway the whole time. So,
oh,
uh,
absolutely. And it's funny because my parents always wanted us to be like lawyers and doctors, but when my mom, this is way before cell phones, my mom would tell me, like, the night before, she'd be like, okay, when I was in high school, she'd be like, we're meet me after work tomorrow in the city, and because we're going to go to TKTS. And so I'd leave school, I'd come into the city, meet her after work, we'd go to dinner, and whatever was for sale at TKTS we would go see.
that must have been
And
amazing.
oh my God, it was like I saw the best theater, like the best theater. Like I saw Yul Brynner's last, not his last performance, but the last production that he did of The King and I.
Oh wow.
Dustin Hoffman in The Merchant of Venice. I saw Al Pacino in Glengarry Glen Ross. Like, just, I got the opportunity to do all these things, and then my mother was so shocked when she heard I wanted to become an actor. She was like, why don't you want to become a lawyer? And I was like, Mom, she's like, I don't understand this
She
obsession
basically
with theater.
forced you to, though. She
Absolutely.
shoved you into the world of
What did
theater.
you think was going to happen? She's like, I thought you would just appreciate art. Like, she would take us to the Met. There were I don't know if it still happens. I think that there still is, like, standing room only at the Met is only $25.
It's super cheap. Yeah, no, I've done
Yeah.
that once.
And just that, like, damn, like, I'm not an opera singer, and that's not a stage that I could fill. However, being in the audience and watching those, like, lights come to, like,
Mm.
the pageantry of theater is also something that just excites me, like that, being able to transport yourself into another world in a house full of however many people, where you're witnessing the same experience, but everyone's experience is unique. That's as close to magic as we can get, I
It
think.
is. It really is. I was like you. I always thought I want if I were going to work in the arts, I wanted to be in the theater,
Mhm.
and life just sort of said, well, you're going to spend more time in film and television. Good luck, guy.
Yeah.
But I love the theater, and I love going to it because you're right. It's such a magical experience to be sharing this with everyone, and that's why I like going to movie theaters too, because
Yes.
there's something it's almost the same thing in some ways,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why I love movie theaters, and
Yeah.
that's why a movie hits me differently in the theater than it does at home. So
Absolutely. It's also like a 3D experience to a certain extent, right? Like when you're in a theater, you're when you're watching a live performance anyway, you're experiencing those actors 3D. And when
mhm.
you're in a movie theater, it's you're surrounded by just that. It's not the same as when you're watching a movie at home that you can pause it and, go to the bathroom and do this. You're going to miss something, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, there's that experience of just being engulfed in the moment, which is really, I think, really special.
I agree. So you do film and television now, though.
Yeah.
What was your first project that you worked on in film or television? Do you remember? Because I know you've done a lot of
Oh,
things.
I think I did a like many, many years ago. I did a Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Um,
My mother would have been very happy. My mother must have seen it then. So
I've had people come up to me like that, see me in the theater, and they'll look at my bio and like, oh my God, I saw your episode. My episode. I've been on more since, but that was my, I think, yeah, that was my first experience for TV. Um, yeah, I think that was it. It could have been something else. I don't know.
I mean, that's a great one to have though for your first one, and I remember back in the day that was the one that at least when I was in college, everyone was like, "That's how you know you're an actor when you work on Law and Order." So
That's how you, and that's how you know you're a New York actor, because
yeah,
like that's you don't get your stripes until you've done one of the Law and Orders. You know,
I'm still waiting for that one. So I'm not quite a New York actor yet, but
not yet. You haven't done any yet.
I haven't done any Law. I've had some auditions for Law and Order, but I haven't done it yet.
It
So
will come. That's interesting because our casting director did casting for Law and Order for many, many years.
yes, I think I
And,
remember hearing that. So
yeah, and so during our read through, the first read through we did, it's interesting because they get to see us, like millions of times, and we never get to see them. So I didn't recognize her initially, but she
yeah,
was
no, of course.
she was so gracious and so lovely. She's like, I've been watching your work for so long. I'm so glad we were able to book you on this. And I was like, I can't, like, I was so amazed that she, that she knew who I was. And then at the same time, I was like, wow, you've been looking at me for years. That's a lot. That says a lot. And they remember.
I had something. I was on set this past weekend, and an actress was telling me about because something about doing the show sometimes it still feels not quite real that we did the show for me because it was my first major project, and I, I forget how many people were trying to be on this show because an actress told me I met somebody who auditioned for your role and you got it over them, and
Oh, wow.
I'm like, that's amazing. That's so cool. So you're right. They see millions of people, and we stick out for them. So that's exciting. So
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It feels like, because oftentimes we send in, like, I know I send in so many auditions that I feel like it's going into a void.
same.
You don't always get feedback. Like I've asked my manager sometimes, like, are they saying anything? He's like, don't worry, but
Well,
like I'd
you
like
almost
to know.
never get feedback. In fact, I think it's. I got feedback this last week from one audition saying they went with somebody else, and I was like, "This is amazing. At least I heard from them."
Right,
So
right. Yeah, because you don't even hear that you didn't get it. They
yeah,
just, you know, they just move on. So yeah, it's really, really nice when you get to meet a casting director, see behind the camera and, oh, this is the person that's been, pushing for me, and I was very grateful.
so on the Chair Company, can you tell us who you play?
I play Brenda, um, uh, Ron Trosper's boss, and Jeff Levishman's. I'm right under Jeff, um, and yeah, so I'm kind of. I guess I'm the office. I wouldn't call myself the office manager because I think office managers like manage the office. I'm like the overseer of the project managers, of which Ron is one of them. And Brenda is really she's one of only two Latinas in that office. and she's extremely good at her job,
Hmm.
and I think she really cares for Ron. I think that Ron is just from the backstory that I got from her in that first episode about her fighting to have him lead this project when no one else believed in him, I feel like she sees a lot of potential in him. Um, Even though he's quirky and weird and and just kind of offbeat. Clearly she sees something in him that's capable. And I love that about her, that that's she's different than me in that way, because I can tend to make judgments right off, like off the bat of people, especially one wrong thing. I can be very, it's something that I'm working on. But I love that Brenda's like, hey, let's give him a second chance, and let's see what he can do. I think he can do this.
But I do think in being a New Yorker, it's a survival skill set to make a quick
Yeah.
judgment on people. So,
Yeah.
um, because you have to do that in order to survive sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a place for it, but I do, yeah, I'm learning. I'm as I'm building Brenda's backstory, she's just a much more, she's a gooder person than I.
And I kind of like that about acting, is that we can not only do we put ourselves in our characters, we can put a little bit of our characters into ourselves, and we sort of
Absolutely.
find a way to grow from that. It's
Yeah.
very cathartic, and
Yeah.
if it's a unique experience, I think, that you don't
Mhm.
get in other jobs.
No, 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 no. Yeah, like like every actor, I've had other jobs. And there was a time when I worked in offices. I sold copiers for a while, and you do the same thing every day, and you see the same people every day, and sometimes that's lovely, but most of the time, for me anyway, that was just soul crushing. It
Yeah.
was, like the not being able to create, the not being able to like laugh at, my own stupidity or somebody else's, or that was really hard. That was really, really hard.
Corporate America is a very hard world to be in for people in general, but I think it's really hard for people who have um, a need to create in a
Yeah.
way that the average person maybe doesn't have. Because I think everyone has a need to create of some kind, but I think that people like you and me, actors and artists in general, there's a need to create that we must satisfy, and you don't get that in corporate America as much. So
N-
especially now.
no, that's true. Yeah, it was definitely my experience that it was like, I was like, I really, I can't. Like, and it didn't matter how much money I could make, that was not going to make up for me feeling like, waking up and having a stomach ache and not
Yeah.
wanting to go leave my home. Like, you can't pay for that. You just can't, you
And
know?
it's interesting that we bring that we're working in a corporate America style job with the chair company. With that's
Yes.
what we
Yeah.
have. Um,
But also
we've
like,
worked very hard to be actors to work in corporate America.
exactly, exactly. However, with the quirk of like, you know, Doug would never be able to bring,
Oh no,
Bubbles to work, like,
never.
so there's that the feeling, like I remember working in an office and thinking, not I want to bring in Bubbles,
But
but like,
maybe.
but maybe exactly, like, what would shake these people up, like what would get them out of their computers or up from their desks, or just make them laugh for a moment, or like, damn it, don't take yourself so seriously, this is not brain surgery. So yeah, yeah, I love that about it, that yeah, we are mimicking corporate America, and also throwing a little spice into there.
Laughing at it too. So,
Yeah.
and you had a lot of scenes with Tim. How was that? Had you met him before, or?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but when I first got the audition, I read the thing, and it was like, oh, it's a new Tim Robbins movie, and I was like, oh my God, Tim Robbins, I would work with Tim Robbins. And my daughters, one of whom is also an actress, was helping me, with the audition, and she was like, Mom, it's Tim Robinson. And I was like, Tim Robinson? She's like, no, 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 Mom, it's Tim Robinson. It's the comedian, and you need to see his work. And I was like, oh, okay. And thankfully, I did the audition without having seen any of his work, for the pilot, and I took it very seriously. I wasn't, thank goodness. I think that might be what helped me book the job, because I wasn't working comedy. My audition scene was that one scene where he's in the office, and I'm like, what the hell were you thinking? And this is okay. So I took it very seriously, because I'm a very serious person. And it wasn't until after I booked it, and I didn't go to a callback. I didn't meet anybody. There was no, I know other people in the cast had a couple of rounds of auditions, and I didn't have that. I just heard from my manager that I would be getting an offer, and I was like, okay. And that's when I started watching the Detroiters and I Think You Should Leave. And I was like, oh, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, this is so crazy. So that was my introduction to him. And my youngest daughter is like a huge fan. And she was like, oh my God, you have to watch this. And you have to watch this episode and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I didn't know who he was. But also, I'm kind of glad, because once I started shooting the show, then I had realized who he was. But he's so unassuming and humble and kind, and not full of himself. I think I heard you saying that I watched your interview with Glow, and I agree with you. There's no egos on that set.
That was my biggest thing I was scared about. I was like, this is my first big set. Will it be hard to be there? Will people be yelling? Will people be screaming? No one, not one person.
One person. I was like, that was such a beautiful experience, because, sometimes you meet your heroes and they can be jerks, and quite often those jerks are comedians. I hate to say it, but some comedians don't have great reputations for being kind people, and he's everything that's not. He's just a lovely, lovely person. So he made things very, very easy for me, and I was nervous as hell, just because I don't have a whole lot of TV and film experience. So I have some, but I still have a hard time. It was like, is this my is the camera on me now? What is happening? And he was really good about putting his hand up. It's like, hey, you're doing a great job. Really, really good. Thank you for doing this. As well as Andy. Andy, I fell in love with Andy. He's such a sweetheart. So yeah, most of my scenes are with him, or Jeff, Lou Diamond. And it's nice to watch, for me, learning how to manipulate a camera, watching them, because I can take a stage, that's not a problem. But learning, it's a different set of skills to be on camera. And so watching them, having the gift of being able to kind of stand back and see how they handle being on camera was really, really helpful for me. So I didn't know him before, and I didn't know anyone. I didn't know who Doug. Oh my God, I forget his name.
Jim Downey.
Jim. Thank you. I didn't know who Jim was, and I actually did know who he was, but I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who I was working with. I thought he was a sweet old man. And then it wasn't until afterwards that I was like, wait a minute, that's not just some sweet old man. And you would never know, because again, no ego, no, nobody's walking around flashing anything. So it was nice.
I my for the table read, I sat next to Glow, but and then next to Glow was Lou Diamond Phillips, and he just introduced himself to me like he was just a normal. Again, he's a normal person, yes, but it's like I'm me, and that's Lou Diamond Phillips,
Yeah, yeah, he was
and he's just
really.
like, "Hi, my name's Lou," and I'm like, I know who you
I
are."
know. Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was so chill. He was just like, and then Tim was the same way. Everybody was like that, and I was like, are all movies and TV sets like this? I know they're not because this is
They are not. I mean, I've worked on a few sets, and this is not, no shade against anybody. It's also like a different type of thing. But, when I've done a few Law and Orders now, and it's a machine.
oh well, it has to be. That has to
It
be.
has to be exactly. So there's not that opportunity to like, sit down and also, you're a day player. You're going in for one guest star. Maybe you have a few
Yeah,
lines, so you're not going to have the time to really commune with anyone else. But it was so relaxed. Like being on the set was like relaxed. It was chill. There was nobody, like you said, nobody screaming, nobody, getting their undies in a bunch. Even though sometimes it was late hours, people were tired. They wanted to go home. They got the job done, and they did it. Yes, it was late. It was going to be late either way, but they weren't. They didn't make us miserable in the in the
there
interim.
wasn't really even complaining. Like I, I,
No,
I can't even remember a time when anybody was like, "Oh, I hate why we just want to go home." I can't really remember that.
no, no. I think I did the most complaining because the first episode, my shoes. Oh damn,
Oh, I remember that.
those
Yes,
heels were just like killing me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to.
all of the women on stage had to get so for the last day of the pilot we were filming was the big chair moment in the show,
Yes.
and I thought that was going to be a fast day because I'm like, it's not that long a scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it turned into like
How
12
many
hours.
how many times did he fall into that chair? It was like it might have been 20 times.
I think so,
That
yes,
he
and
collapsed it.
it was so everyone who was on the stage who was a woman, they were in high heels, and so the wardrobe department kept bringing out slippers for them
Slippers.
because it was so painful.
I know. I felt bad because there were people behind us. I forget who was standing, but I know that I was one of the few people that had a chair.
I think Eileen was standing for sure.
Yeah, Eileen was standing.
Maybe Regina too.
Regina might have. No, Regina might have been sitting. I don't remember. I know I had a chair, and I was so happy because I was like, I don't think I can do this if if I have to stand. I was in so much pain. So they were, the wardrobe people were lovely afterwards because I was like, please, please, please put me in something lower or platform so that my foot is not at such a high angle. If you want me to be tall, because the part
Yeah,
of the problem is that Tim, even though he slouches, has very bad posture.
is so
He's
tall.
over 6 feet tall.
He's
So
so tall.
they were like, we don't want you to disappear next to him. Since all my scenes are with him, you need to be, at least as tall as he is. So I understood, I totally understand that. I didn't want to disappear next to him either. So they were really good about getting me like shoes that they were like 4-inch heels, but they had a platform in the front. So
Yeah.
my foot was not at such a high.
Oh, nice. Good, good. You know, that's interesting. Almost all of the office people who were the named office people are short.
Yes, all of us. I think,
Like, I think
no,
Michael is the tallest one,
and Eileen, like,
and Eileen,
yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah, but I don't count. Well, and Shannon. Shannon's very tall.
she's tall, but she's not that tall.
Mm,
Um,
maybe it's her hair
it's
that
her
makes her look
hair.
taller. Yeah.
Her hair is voluminous.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But
But
you're right. Most
me and
of us are.
Glow and
Yeah. Most of us are teeny weeny and need help.
no, I guess that was another intentional thing that they did. So Ron looks even more out of place compared to the rest of us.
Yeah. He always looks like he's making himself smaller, which I think is an interesting choice. Yeah.
it's a very almost like Clark Kent Superman kind of thing, but except his alter ego is just himself, but
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's funny. I was thinking about the. Can I just say what's been on my mind? Like
Please.
that the Share Company was not nominated for any awards this award season, and which isn't to say, like, I mean, it's difficult for, like, comedies are always kind of looked over, but I was like, when we read those scripts, I, I was laughing out loud half the time, and
Yes.
that rarely happens. But what I read was very different than what I saw, even though it was exactly the same. Like, they really kept very close to the original scripts that they gave us, even though we improvised a ton of scenes and did a lot of stuff that, ad libbing and stuff. They stayed really close to those original scripts. And I realized that the way that it was shot, the kind of dark, kind of grainy aspect to it,
Mhm.
and the sound, like,
I had no idea that what we saw was what we were making.
yes,
Yeah.
it feels like like, and that made me, and I know this, right? I know that sound can
Hmm.
drastically change the mood of a piece, but I didn't realize how much until I saw, like, I remember when I saw those first, like, 4 or 5 episodes, I was like, I should know, but whoever did the sound for this really needs recognition, because they made a completely different show than what I read anyway on
No,
paper.
I'm same. I think I've heard that from a couple other cast members as well. But I admit I am also a little frustrated. I think that we deserve some recognition as a show that we are. I mean, and we certainly were quite popular on among the viewers. So
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
was
think that
surprised.
he'll definitely, Tim has a couple of Emmys to his credit, I think, already. Um,
And the Emmys haven't been not our show's Emmy year is the next Emmys anyway.
right, right.
Because that's in September, so there's still hope we could still have
There's
a chance
still
for an
time.
Emmy.
Yeah, we still have time for that. I do hope that they get recognized, at least for sound and cinematography. Like,
The
those
cinematography is great. It's
really,
so unique for a comedy, especially.
mhm,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do hope that they, okay, I mean, regardless of us, right? Like,
true, yes.
that's
I
no.
mean, I certainly didn't expect to get nominated for anything, but I mean,
I mean,
the show,
it's
the
all,
show
it would
should.
always be nice, but, it's not that, like, the kind of, this show is really a vehicle for Tim, and that's, and
Yeah,
that's what it is. But I do think that, like, the sound design and the cinematography is really outstanding, and
and the editing
yeah,
is incredible on this show
yeah, yeah,
because it is so tight and uh, they cut all the right stuff. Well, I know some of the actors would disagree, but they cut all the right stuff to keep it moving in
yeah.
a
I
beautiful.
know, I agree. I hate some of the stuff that they cut, because I, like, it was fun and it was funny, but it didn't advance the story,
Yeah,
and they really stuck to what they wanted the story to be.
because when I was
Got
reading
it
the scripts, I
hard.
was like, these scripts are really long. How long is the episode they're going to be? Because I thought maybe it was like an hour long show or like a Game of Thrones kind of spot. But no, they were like, you have half an hour, so well 20 minutes basically,
Yeah.
25 minutes.
Hmm.
I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, they're gonna have to cut stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they did.
And they did, and they made, and, and I think it's very tight. It's very tight. I love that there's no fat on it.
Nothing,
Yeah.
not even a morsel. I
Yeah.
was I think you might have heard. I met the editor for the pilot at the premiere party.
I might
In,
have been with you, because we were all talking together for a
you
while.
might have. She just talked about how hard it was to do the cuts because everything was so good. And again, for everybody listening, this is what I say all the time when we do cuts for a show. It's never usually because the scene is not good. It's because it doesn't fit in the overall product, and that's the hard part sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I was hoping for. She did mention that there might be like a little outtake reel at some point.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
great.
and I thought that would come like at the end of the season, but I think they didn't want that to take away from the thrill of trying to figure out what's going to happen next season.
True, because they left us on a big cliffhanger. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and everybody, we don't know what's going on next either. So,
We don't. We don't know anything. It's funny because people have asked me, so when do you start shooting? And I'm like, I don't know if, like we don't know. Like they
we
could
don't even know if we're back. So,
we don't exactly. It could be Tim going off on his own and starting another Jeep Tours company. So we don't know, and that's it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
it's a lot of bit nerve wracking
Yeah,
actually. So,
yeah, it really is. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I feel like I learned a lot and
I
meeting.
felt like that too. I felt like it was an amazing experience to work with people and to have that be my first like major experience on a major production. I couldn't have asked for a more wholesome and wholesome is weird for the show, but wholesome and welcoming
But yeah,
experience.
that's a great word for it. It is weird, but it was wholesome. It's I gotta say, and that comes from the top down, right? Because Tim and Zach are kind of they're quirky guys, but at the bottom of they're family people, they're family men.
Yep.
They are, like Zach's wife and kids came onto the set, and just watching Tim's other work, like it's always as strange as his characters are, they love their wives,
Yep.
they love their kids. They're like, that's one of the things that I really, really find gratifying when I'm watching his stuff, is that none of the comedy is about, oh, I gotta get rid of my wife, and or here's somebody else that I want to, bong or whatever. Like
Yep.
there's none of that. There's none of the, like, that's sacred. That's and it, without being, hitting you over the head. His quirkiness is, he's just quirky in other ways, but it's never about like he really always loves his family, which I really like. Like I
And
think,
I think that bled into us too because we
yeah,
created a family
yeah,
basically.
yes.
I mean, where did we spent New Year's Day together
No,
at Lou Diamond Phillips's
I
house,
know.
and
Yeah.
I can't even imagine in my wildest dreams that would be something that I would be doing.
Yeah.
Like it was so random and yet so beautiful and so just chill.
Yeah. Like super generous of Lou to invite us all. And
Absolutely.
again, like what a humble human being, like he had us all there, and it was all, it was just, you're right. It felt like family. It felt like, we belong together, so that's been a really lovely, really, really getting to know you guys, and sharing this experience, partly because so many of us are relatively new to the medium.
True. A lot of us are fresher to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like, other than Lou and Tim, none of us have a long TV film resume.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was it's
Some,
you remember your,
Something I've also talked about. I was also just really happy by the I think the age of everybody on the show. Like we are not all like 20 somethings from West Hollywood. Uh,
yes, yes, we're none of us are that. None of us are that. I mean, you've got young people on the set, but they're not,
sure.
they're not 18-year-olds. Which there's nothing wrong with 18-year-olds. However, it's not one of those shows that is like fashion for, or like, there's no models on there.
Well, it
Like,
was certainly not fashion forward with the
we're
costumes that
not
we
fashion forward. Although I will say that Brenda, my outfits are pretty awesome.
You and Carol had amazing
We
outfits.
had amazing, without being like, without looking like we belong on a cover of W or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we look good for Canton, Ohio. Yeah, so it's I really, I love the diversity in age, the diversity in bodies, the diversity in the ethnic diversity, and the fact that we have a little bit of everything, but it's not about that.
Exactly. I was talking. Lou and I were talking about this on New Year's Day, just because he knows how much I care about diversity, and Lou himself is somebody who he's one of the people I think he said that is helped get the new rules for the Oscars in terms of diversity passed. So diversity is very important to him as well, and representation
Yeah,
is very important to him.
absolutely.
And this show does it without feeling like it's forcing it. So
Exactly. It's not, it doesn't feel like they're, checking off boxes or filling a quota. It
yeah,
just, we've got, it's never, nobody's ever like having to be grateful for being like, I'm the only Latina or I'm
yeah,
the one of two. Like, we don't have to be grateful for it because it's not, it's just normal. It's
yeah.
just natural. There was one scene that Andrew let us do in Spanish, like me, Glow and Glow, I asked Glow a question and she responded in Spanish, and I was like, okay, let's go with it. And they loved it. They didn't wind up making its way into the final cut, but he was like, yeah, let's try it. Why not? And it wasn't like, no, this isn't what we do, whatever. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
I think you and I were talking because you were talking about Pluribus and how you enjoyed seeing the representation in that show from one of the scenes with in a with a language with your dialect, I think, or
No, it was, they
was
had
that somebody else I was talking to?
it was an indigenous a group of indigenous people and they were speaking in Quechua.
Hmm.
And I was like, when I have never, and I don't know if I will ever see something like they did the whole scene in Quechua with subtitles.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, people read, read. It's okay. You'll get through it. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I had been watching the young woman in the who was in the lead in that scene. I was watching her, I think it was on Instagram. I was watching her watch that scene and she was just in tears listening, hearing her language. And I was like, representation matters. It matters. It doesn't matter where you're from or who you are. Within these mediums where magic happens, we like to see ourselves. We need to see ourselves.
And I think Tim and Zach and Andy are doing what they're supposed to do with the position that they're in as I believe cishet white men. They are leading by example by making sure that their sets are representing
Yeah.
what we should be seeing.
Yeah.
So
And it's just not just on camera, behind the camera.
behind the scenes too.
Like, how many women were there? How many women of color? How many, people of color? Like,
How many women were running the cameras and were the DPs?
yeah,
They like the whole camera crew was women for the
yeah,
most part. So
yeah, yeah. It's pretty like that's really where you see people's commitment,
yeah,
right? Because it's one thing for what the audience is going to see, and you can say, "Oh yeah, I checked all these boxes," if that's what you're doing. But behind the scenes, nobody knows.
yep.
And that I found really like gratifying to see that, like, okay, they are walking the walk.
No, it was really amazing overall, and hopefully you and I'll be back for at least another episode or two.
Amen to
So
that. Amen to that. Yeah, that's what we're all
fingers
hoping.
crossed. We are wrapping up almost. I can't believe it's almost 8 o'clock.
I can't either. I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to talk about for an hour? But like, I'm like, this is great.
I'm always surprised because I always think I need to make sure I have some talking points in my head, and then I never get to them because we end up just having a great time chatting, and that's what I like about doing this with people because the hour flies by.
It really did. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh
And
no, my goodness! So you just filmed something, or you're filming something right now? I think you said to me before the show
no,
started.
we just wrapped. I did a scene in One Night Only, a new Will Gluck film, which is I think it's premiering in August 7th, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
fantastic!
So yeah, that should be coming out soon. And I have a short film called Marry When You Follow Her, coming out, I think, in a couple of months that I had done, and another short film called Mexican Delight. I've done a few short films this past year that are really lovely and like touching shorter stories, but I've been really loving like the short form of film.
Oh,
So yeah.
there's a lot of power in short films. The problem with short films, I found as somebody who has sometimes makes them, is I just don't know what to do with them after. Like that's the hard part. Is like they don't have anywhere to live, and that's the thing that I struggle with as a person creating short films.
I do think that that's going to change because, you know, our attention spans are getting shorter. Um,
True.
so I do wonder if, you know, if there's anybody out there that wants to like have a platform, and I think there actually are, I just don't know them, platforms for just short films. And I do think that that's going to be more and more popular as the years progress.
And what about theater? Are you gonna grace the stage anytime soon? Or
Right now, I don't have anything in the pipeline. This is the first year in a while that I don't have something lined up. Because my manager wants me to do more TV and film, but I'm like, like I'm not used to it. I'm not used to not being busy. So hopefully, you know, I'd like, in my ideal world, I'd be doing one stage play a year minimally, and then everything else TV and film.
Mhm. Well, fingers crossed you can do that. That would be nice.
That
How can people find you online if you would like to have some people check in on your work and all?
I post everything on Instagram. I don't have a website. So anything that I'm doing, and it's the only thing that I post. I try not to post anything personal or political or whatever. I try not to contribute to all of the other noise that's out there. So I am Zugu's Petals on Instagram. And yeah, so anything that I'm doing, I post there. And if I have, you know, advance notice, you know, I'll repost whatever, you know, my friends are posting that sounds interesting. But yeah, Zugu's Petals on Instagram.
And that when I saw it, I do have to ask. It is a pun on Zulu's petals, right? From
Zuzu's Petals, yeah.
Zuzu's petals, not Zulu's. Yeah,
Yeah,
Zuzu.
it's Zuzu's Petals, but also it's, yeah, I couldn't get Zuzu's Petals, so I did my, because Zuzu is what my family calls me. Ever since I
Oh,
was
okay.
tiny. It has nothing to do with the movie. It's just they just call me Susu. And so I couldn't get that on Instagram, but then I did my initials for my first name and my last name, and that worked. Nobody had that.
Oh, I love that though. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it
So.
works. It works. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I again am so glad that you could be here tonight. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, Josh. Really, this has been so much fun, and I love the format, and I've watched a couple of the episodes, and like, I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I am really excited to be seeing you again very soon, no matter what happens. In some way, shape, or form, I know we'll see each other because we have that little Fisher Robey family now.
That's
So,
right. That's right. So yeah. We keep each other informed.
everyone else, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate having you here on Monday night with me. Thank you, David, for tuning in. I know you're up in Boston, and I hope that you are not buried in snow anymore. But I saw you're outside when you posted it on Facebook. So, so good luck with that. Everybody else, stay safe, stay warm, and I will see you all next week. Have a good night.
Take care. Good night.
And that's the tea.